Sup Team KBA, One Tech Traveler here. This is Last Shelter and you're joining me in Season 5, Week 5. And today we've got the second group of Season 4 heroes in the token shop, which we are going to talk about today. Whether you should be spending your tokens on them, what kind of characters they are, and just a little bit about strategy that I think is always useful about how you're trying to manage your organic tokens, and even if you top them up, to make sure that you spend them on the right heroes that are going to develop you quicker. So in Group 2 we have, down here, Venom Walker and a Commissar. So it looks like my predictions from the first hero tokens were correct. I think I figured out around Season 2, Season 3 that the token shop refresh basically follows the smaller hero pools for the tickets. And since there's only 2 heroes that appear per token shop cycle, it means that the remaining hero from the first pool is matched to the second one, and then we get confirmed the final for Group 3. It confirms Caesar and Deus Ex Machina is going to be the final S4 heroes to be in the token shop, which spans the final week of Eden Dissidia. Been a lot of fun. And also the week of Tally Phase. So you do have a bit of time, and like I mentioned before, for every 2-week refresh cycle for tokens, you can organically earn up to 800 tokens provided you are hitting all 3 chests for free hourly challenges per day. Now if you want to learn more about these heroes, check out my Season 4 Heroes guide on my website at onetechtraveler.com, or check out the Season 4 hero pool where I went into them in more detail. But for these 2 heroes, definitely situational. One of them I will 100% you should not be picking up, and it pains me to see, pains me, as soon as this token shop refresh launched, I just saw on my screen people picking Commissar up, and I was like, oh my days. Venom Walker is definitely a different story. Again, it's kind of 50-50, which we'll talk about in a moment. Reason being also is if Caesar or Deus Ex is in your lineup. Not only that, SX heroes, which also costs more, you need 3,000 versus 2,400. So again, for every 1.5 months, you can earn an SX hero. So yeah, get saving. Currently have 2,460 tokens. In this particular one, even though I do have Venom Walker, I'm gonna pass on him just because of where he is with the development. I've only got a single, which isn't worth it, and we'll talk about that later on. But let's talk about these heroes. So let's start off with the one that I'm just telling everyone to avoid, is Commissar. If you're somewhat familiar with the heroes in the seasons, then you know Commissar is kind of that meme hero that everyone looks down upon pre-SX, and also no relevance in SX, to be honest. So I probably came across 1 or 2 people running Commissar in an APC. It actually did all right, but it's not due to Commissar, it's due to the other strong heroes who are very influential, that no matter, you know, if you have a weaker hero, then they can still prop them up. So sadly, Commissar is one that I would just say 100% avoid. Don't pick up any hero tokens, try not to pick them up at all. And the reason being is just his numbers. Activates not really that great. He has a few skills that are okay, but it's also the damage output that's just really terrible. Quick one, Apocalypse, 25%, not great, but a quarter of the turn 8 battles, you can expect this to trigger. 218% damage to 2 random enemy heroes, which isn't too bad. 436%, and it disarms them for 1 turn, not bad either. Got your typical 50% might and resistance, and then his skill 5, suppressing assault. If you've ever watched Archer, I know it says suppressing fire, but whenever I see that, always comes to mind. 30% chance to link 2 random enemies within range. When one squad takes damage, the other will also take 25% damage as well, lasting 2 turns. Now this skill by concept is actually pretty good. It's kind of like a splash damage, or if you think of Kamikaze in SX, he will also relay additional damage to another squad outside of the one that he hits. So the concept is not bad, it's just the numbers are very small. 30% is not going to trigger that often, and considering his skill 2 is also 25%, he's already looking to be quite hit and miss with his skill triggers. and 25% of damage as well is also quite small. Granted, if you do have very strong heroes around them, like I mentioned, that sort of splash damage can be incremental and accumulate. It lasts for 2 turns, so again, if you have a very high basic troop attack damage, sure, but to be honest, they're carrying him rather than Commissar adding value into an APC. So I like the concept of it. It's just very poor execution. His awakening, just a plus 40 shooter's combat speed, which means it's going to give him a little bit more than heroes that don't have a combat speed buff, so it might be slightly higher up the pecking order, but not much, especially if you look at vehicle heroes that have crazy combat speed. Shooter heroes tend to not really have much combat speed buffs, so they will be later in the turns. He would just be slightly above that, but again, his skill set doesn't really make the most of it. And then finally, skill 8, Howitzers. It's a prep skill, which means it cannot be negated. It's just something that carries on. And like with the linked skill, here is the actual splash damage concept. Like S2 Panthers, I refer to him a lot, but he's kind of like the de facto for splash damage. All friendly shooters have splash status, and basic attacks can also deal 40% damage to 2 back row enemy squads. So if it's hitting the front, it's going to hit the back too. Unlike Panthers, which is just for the first 3 turns, this is consistent for the entire like turn 8 battle, which is great. 40% damage, not too much. Again, if you've got other heroes around him, then the concept itself is decent. But when you are looking at shooter alternatives that just offer so much more, whether that's counters, buffs, extra damage and support for better hero synergy, he's kind of just left in the dust. Alternatives would be Deus Ex Machina, that is just a straight up like enemy reduction damage, and offers healing recovery as well, so he's just gonna last longer and more competitive, especially in SX if you have him. And then for more offensive, you have like Valkyrie, who's just front loaded pretty much like Panther in the first 3 turns, Koshei. So as we're already in SX seasons, you know, he's already obsolete. There's really no point picking up a single duplicate, a single copy anyway. But if you already have Commissar, honestly, just don't develop him. Save your hero tokens for heroes that are going to make more sense. And like I mentioned, with SX on the horizon, you might have a short break in between when second season starts. But considering they will cost you 3,000 tokens, dropping 2.4k on arguably the worst like pre-SX hero, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Just avoid. So that is Commissar. And then we get to Venom Walker. I like Venom Walker. I have a copy of him, and I've seen him sort of in the battle reports and a good understanding of what he's about. I've also seen people pick up Venom Walker, which isn't a bad idea. It really depends on what you are looking. It really depends on how you see him developing your APCs. Venom Walker is typically a back row hero. You can place him in the mid more of as kind of a makeshift support with some offensive damage that you can sustain with some healing recovery from the mid turn of battle, and he's pretty good there. And it really just depends on your overall fighter APC formation. If you've got Tech Priestess, Venom Walker would also work well, and you know, they've got good hero synergy. But of course, once you start getting SX heroes like Scarlet Siren, who is the top tier and I would say the best back row fighter hero across the board, Glutton, Canoness, even like Prophet, his position is kind of difficult to say, especially when you look at top tiers, but he's certainly a great hero that will fit in there if you don't have these heroes yet. He's different from other back row heroes where you kind of want more damage coming across. He's consistent, his numbers are reliable, not insane or like mind-boggling, but decent consistent damage that stacks and gets stronger as you go in battle. Desolation is that sort of cumulative effect where he'll apply cursed, burning and poison in set turns. As you go through the turns, then those effects stack. So cursing is from turn 1. When you hit turn 3, you have cursing and burning. When you hit from turn 5, you have cursing, burning and poison hitting them at the same time as separate damages. So it gets stronger as you go. Next up we have Bitter Medicine, which is his healing ability, which is also very good. It only kicks off from turn 5, so it's kind of making sure that you can stay into the battle and not get completely routed. It does limit its effectiveness because that's assuming you are going to last until turn 5, which means if you're up against very heavy damage dealers, then this ability might not kick in enough before your front or your mid row are killed off. It has an 84% recovery rate, so it does recover a very good amount. Just kind of limited there. It is a prep skill, so I like that ability. It's not combat that needs to be, it's not a combat skill that needs to be triggered or activated. It just works in the background automatically. But then again, it is turn 5. Awakening plus 15% HP, which gives good tankiness. He has a resistance for the rest of the formation. And then finally, Deadly Smog. He's the only one to do a channel disruption type of skill. It is guaranteed to hit every turn, although it is a combat skill, so if it is countered, then it won't kick in. Damage number is okay, but it's mainly the disruption part, which means any abilities that requires that turn prep, then it will disrupt that. It means they need to reactivate the skill and then have that turn preparation to pull it off again. So it's good. Reason why I kind of debate about him is because he is probably better suited as a defensive Q, because like say he's not going to be a strong hero. You could pair him if you put him in the mid, don't have like a Glutton Canoness or a TP to combine them together. Those two with Venom Walker would be very strong as a defensive APC, but if you don't have them, you could look at And the Knight, Scarlet Siren, even Dragon's Rage, depending, you know, on what you have. But Scarlet Siren being a top tier offensive hero, then he can work. But you just need to make sure he's in a state to make him usable. I only have a single copy. It will unlock his skill 8 or skill 6. I generally want to open up his skill 8 just to have him triggering more skills and be more effective in combat. However, if you are looking more towards tiling or dealing more destruction with cities where you want to use fighters, then awakening him is going to have more troops so that you can load more damage. So the choice is there, and he's kind of makeshift in either mid or back row. He's not the big hitter in a formation, so he's reasonable in a mid. If you have at least 2 skills already on him, and that third is going to unlock either the skill 6 or skill 8, so you have both of them open, then I would say he is still going to be a very good hero to unlock and drop your tokens on, and just give you a solid formation before you know, might take some time for you to get a replacement of him or extra heroes to accompany around. So if you have the hero tokens in isolation, yes. Strategically, with Caesar and Deus Ex Machina, if you have your eye on them, it's going to be a tough call. Again, it depends on what your priority is. Caesar is still a very strong vehicle hero that combines well, pretty much because of his strong counters of disarming and silencing and straight up like enemy debuff. So he's probably going to be more useful in a day-to-day, whereas Venom Walker is going to be more situational. And if you have your defensive Q unlocked, putting him in there for, you know, kill enemy, oblivion, that sort. And so that is Venom Walker and Commissar. Commissar 100% just skip, please. If you do buy him, I haven't done my job well, but I'm making it clear, just don't buy him. It's a waste of hero tokens, honestly. Venom Walker, depending on your circumstances, I will say if you already have 3 copies, then I would be more hard pressed to say yes, a maxed hero for him is still going to be very strong and give you a strong defensive Q and defensive fighter formation, either for hitting cities, garrisoning tiles, anything in a defensive nature. That would be great. If this is going to be the 3rd copy, I would still say he is worth it, but it's more on your token management and the outlook. So yeah, that finally means Caesar and Deus Ex Machina, which are also very strong S4 heroes that you can work with as you are building your SX heroes. 3,000 tokens for SX heroes. There's a lot of very strong ones that can and do supersede these pre-SX heroes. Just bear that in mind. You might have some time where you could have pick up 1 hero, but remember, there's going to be multiple SX heroes that are coming in per month, and missing out on the hero that you really want is going to sort of shoot yourself in the foot if you're only relying organically. But if you are topping up your spends in packages, then and don't see tokens being an issue, then Venom Walker would be great. So thanks a lot for joining me, Team KBA. Hope you found this S4 Group 2 Season 5 Week 5 video useful. That wraps up the video. If you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't yet, join the Team KBA community by subscribing to my YouTube channel, and check out onetechtraveler.com for more stories, articles and videos around tech, travel and gaming. I'll see you in the next one, but until then, keep being awesome. Peace.